Hello, hello. Welcome to Blue Echo Games. Just setting up right now, getting the audio set up, sending out some invites. Audio set up, sending out some invites. It looks pretty good. Looks pretty decent. Hope everyone's having a great day. Looks like we've got a bit of latency. But that's okay, as long as people can chat with me, see what's up. I'm gonna send out some Discord invites, and then we are gonna start dry brushing the life out of these little minis. We've got a bit of latency. That's okay, as long as people can chat with me, see what's up. I'm gonna send out some Discord invites, and then we are gonna start dry brushing the life out of these little minis. All right, cool. Everything is spinning, everything is grooving. Hope everyone's having a great day today. Everything is spinning, everything is grooving. Hope everyone's having a great day today. All right. Yes, yes. Okay. Great to see everyone. All 16 trillion fans. All right. So we're hanging out, playing some Libertas. Well, we're not playing Libertas, we're painting Libertas with autofocus. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do some silver dry brush so they're not just black voids, and then use the color coding here, and then that way it'll be pretty easy. I'll do like, you know, kind of a blue theme, green theme, purple / magenta theme. But we can get off the moving tray now that we're hanging out. And yeah, let's start with this. Obviously, when it's just black like this, it's really hard to tell what's going on. But we'll start with a dry brush. This is a nice and fluffy, it's not very stiff at all, wide brush. Then for dry brushing, I find that thicker paint like this works really well, like a Liquitex basic silver. And then let's see, I'll show the technique. Just put a drop. Oh, that's off camera. Anyway, put a drop off camera. Pick up some paint like this, but go until pretty much none is coming off the brush. The ideal is that each brush stroke isn't actually a noticeable amount of paint, but over many, many brush strokes, it starts to build up. And then you just start to downstroke. That helps pick up the edges that the sunlight would hit. I usually paint minis as if there is a light above. So you can see it went from being a completely black blob to slightly less black blob. Actually, I realized my ISO is too low because I don't have all my lights on. Okay, that looks a little bit better. So, but I am going to, let's move the ISO up to 800 because I think that makes life a little bit easier. So again, I'm dry brushing, get my silver, get most of the paint off, and then do very light downstrokes. You can see I love it because it with mechanical parts, it does a good job of edge highlighting, and it also gives a little bit of a wear effect because the raised portions and edges are kind of where one might expect a battle-worn mech to lose some of its paint. And so this is a really nice starting process. Also really helps isolate the different pieces and show a little bit more of what's going on. Now, because I really like this sort of black mech metallic look, I'm going to just keep dry brushing this until I have layers as I like them, and then we'll end up with sort of a dull gunmetal gray. Let's see, that is on camera. So this dot here, it's kind of hard to see. Yeah, if I take the glare off, right? It's just a little dot of paint. Pick it up and then just start spreading it around. If you're visibly seeing silver come onto the page, it's probably still a little bit too much. And then you can always dry brush more, but it's fairly easy to do a stroke that's too heavy, and then you lose a lot of that nice definition because you just get a silver streak. I mean, that can look sick. Definitely don't worry if it happens. You're still the greatest painter of all time, and anyone who says otherwise is objectively wrong. Making art is cool, and painting miniatures is a great form of art. Anyone who says otherwise is also objectively wrong. And you can send them to this YouTube channel, and I'll explain why minis are sick. Minis are life. And again, these are, we're painting Libertas mech today. So TCAT Games is a studio out of the Pacific Northwest. They're developing this prototype. I ordered some minis because they had a test kit so I could get discounted toys. And so far, they look sick. And once I put the black base coat, the airbrush, a couple nights ago, they just transformed into the sickest stealth mode minis. Let's do another couple. Let's do a little bit more, build up some of our colors here. You can see as we build up over time, right, slowly building more. There you can see when I'm a little bit heavy-handed, and it's not just on the edges, it starts to get onto the actual smooth portions. Of course, that is your artistic decision. You are absolutely free to do it that way. Just saying, a light touch is going to pick up the edges more, and a heavy touch is going to smear your paint a little bit. I enjoy silver a lot on the mechanical ones, just because the silver metallic, it just gives this really nice shiny look. And this is starting to come along. This is pretty much where I want the base piece. So you can see, get a nice close-up. We went from pretty much black to this. So there's a lot of nice detail on these minis, and nice and strong too, pretty sturdy. 3 points of contact on the base is really nice. All right, and I believe this model is supposed to have this one. So let's dry brush this next. Let's see if there's any paint left. You can see no individual stroke really seems to make much of a difference, but over time, multiple strokes start to add definition. And I think that's the goal with dry brushing usually for me, is be patient. You can always add more, but it can start to look streaky, and if that's not the look you want, it's hard to get rid of that. Whereas if it's nice and light pressure and just a small amount of paint, you're able to get a lot of really nice edge highlighting and detail without needing to do any individual edge highlights. Minis are really fun because it's less about like really controlled line work and more about working with a different canvas every time. I just think it's really, really fun. All right. So it looks like from the cards, this mini has kind of a blue vibe. So I'm thinking we bust out some blues and do some blue stuff. Nice. Now that looks nice. I'm happy with that. We've got nice detail. I do like the little heat vent sculpting there. These holes are for magnetic mounts. These are all engineered to have snap fit magnets. The game involves sort of equipping as you go, so it's all, ooh, there we go. So that's pretty cool. That's starting to come together. But I think I'm gonna do a little bit more dry brushing to match the legs, unless we want the crux to look a little bit darker. I think I'll do one more set. So again, we just put a dot of paint. You don't really want much on the brush, so the more you put on the paper, the more you end up having to remove. So that's generally fine. Just slowly adding up highlights and a little bit of contrast, trying to make it look like it was, you know, like a black metallic paint that's got some battle wear, some wear over time. These edges are really nice and sharp. I believe TCAT Games is using resin printing for these. And they have a YouTube video where they talk about different resins, but the edges here feel really crisp, really sharp. Pretty sick. Yeah, that's cool. I'm into that. Let me add a little bit here where I was putting my fingers. Cool. All right, so we've got the crux and legs, which is a nice starting point. And then let's take a look at how this one so I believe the way this one came equipped was rocket launchers. Sweet. Rocket launchers. Okay, primary, auxiliary. All right, maybe X series platform, fortress crux. Maybe the blue is not the thing. You know what? I'll just do whatever color the card is on the piece. So we know that X series is. Oh, sorry, I've been off camera. We know we've got a fortress and an X series. While we've got the blues out, let's do our slice rifle, our twin rifle. Again, let me make sure I'm actually getting things on frame for everybody. Titan Fist. Crusader is blue. And then these all look like action cards. Shield Cell. What's your shield cell like? Well, mine restores 15 shields. My shield cell restores 15 shields. Cool, cool, cool. All right. We will, okay. Crusader and, Fortress and X series have been dry brushed. So we'll put them here. Next, we'll do the Crusader. The Crusader's the mean looking one. Bum, bum. Look at how mean he is. He's so mean. All right. More silver dry brushing. I love silver dry brushing. Okay, gonna get a bunch of the paint off, nice and light. I know the paper is getting a bit saturated because I have the gain up to be able to see the minis, but imagine that every time I swipe, if I'm actively seeing silver hit the page, then I keep going until I don't really see it. That means there's not enough coming off for it to really be noticeable against the white. And that's about where we want to be, because that means that each stroke is not going to be super noticeable on the black, but over time it will start to build up. And then you can see it, it catches those edges nicely, and we've got this cool, sleek, kind of magma, metallic, you know, kind of obsidian looking piece. Course, this is really just kind of the start, but it's a fun base, and we'll add some fun highlights over it. I've been playing around with a dark base with dry brushed highlights and then cool painted detail on top for high contrast. Seems to have a lot of bang for your buck in terms of the amount of time that you're spending painting, and all of us are busy. Painting minis takes time, and it's really fun to play with painted minis, but it is not always easy to find time to paint those minis. So this is a fun way that I've been able to get some minis on the table, you know, without having to like take vacation time. Sick! Very cool. All right. That is the Crusader. Now let's look at the Titan Fist. We're gonna do the Titan Fist next. That's this big cannon. Sweet. This gun, the Titan Fist, if I can find it. The Titan Fist is a 5+ to hit, 24, 1, 30. I think one of those is damage. Heavy weapon. A first attack roll is a miss, roll again. A successful second roll does half damage. That's kind of cool. So if you miss your 5+, then you get a chance to try again, but only at half damage. Whoa! What's up, T-Cat? You know, that's really interesting that you mentioned that, because I was like, I wonder if there's like a magnetic little painting tool attachment. It's very smart that you thought of that. Well, the next time I order some minis, if you want to send me more free stuff like a little painting tool, that'd be cool. But yeah, I don't know if you were able to see, but we're working on your Defender with the 4 legs. I'm pretty excited for how it's looking so far. Hee hee. Yeah, man, the game's sick. I know it's still in development, but I've been really enjoying all the toys, and the cards look great. Yeah, my friend came over and was like, oh, these cards look fire. I don't know. That's probably what I remember them saying, but they like the cards. I think the cards are just so good. These just look so good. They feel so good. Look at this. This is so sick. And then I'm gonna have a sweet army. Boom, boom. So cool. All right. More silver, more dry brushing. Dry brushing never ends. Whoa, that's a little heavy. You can see if it's a little heavy, it starts to deposit more on the surfaces, not just the edges. Of course, if that's the look you're going for, then now you know how to do it. There we go. Maybe a little bit heavy-handed is the way to go on the weapons, just to make them stand out a bit more. Well, that looks pretty nice. Sick. All right. What else? I believe the twin rifle 18-2-10, 18-inch range, two shots, 10 damage each, 4+ to hit. And then if you crit, which I believe is a 6, you get to roll again. It's kind of cool. It's cool that all the weapons have cool special abilities. I'm not, I'm still kind of at the level where I just like put the magnetic pieces on the toys and I get excited because I like minis. Sheesh. I don't know. This backside's probably not going to be very visible, but we'll throw some silver on it. Oh, sorry, I'm off screen. Gotta learn to make sure I'm still on the monitor properly. Nice. This weapon has great detail. Huge fan. Oh, thanks, T-Cat. I'm glad you're digging the paint job. I'm obsessed with doing like black base coat and then doing lots of highlights. I just love the contrast on the tabletop, and it's pretty time efficient. All right, what is next? Slice rifle. These are sick. Man, these cards are cool as fuck. Slice rifle, 3+ to hit, 12 inches, one shot, 18 damage. On a critical hit, if target does not have shields, destroy target attachment. So once you get someone's shields down, if they've got some problematic attachments on their crux, you just slice it off with the slice rifle. And I believe is this a slice rifle? No, this is the slice rifle. Okay. I don't know, T-Cat, the floor is yours in the chat if you wanna tell us more about what you've been doing with Libertas. I've been glazing this game pretty hard. I think it's pretty sick. I think it's really fun to meet other people who are also building games on their own and just like saying, F it, I'll just make cool minis in a sick game and see what happens. So I hope you're enjoying the development process. I think it's in a great state. I'm excited to hear more. Oh, I'm off. Sorry, chat. We gotta stay centered. Gotta stay centered on the black center dot. Oof, that's a lot of silver. Hard to undo that. You know what? Maybe the weapons can just look more worn because they're getting sliced off and stuff. That's kind of fun. Cool. So that's enough dry brushing on the pieces that are going to be blue, I think. And let's look at how we want to do colors. All right. So I've got water just off screen. If anyone's new to acrylic paints, acrylics dry very fast, and then your brush will just permanently have acrylic paint. So wiping that off in water and then wiping it off on a towel here. There is just some water in here. That's what the blue is. So if I'm off here, that means I'm in the water, and then I've got my wet palette here. So loving this kind of neon blue, a little bit turquoise look. So, oh, the Defender, you know what, we got, oh, I just washed the brush. Well, that's my mistake. Let's do a little bit of silver. Brush is a little chewed. Dry brushing really works best when the brush doesn't have a lot of water. Okay. Just a little bit more silver and we are good to go. Cool. So these have a nice amount of wiggle room in the little magnet sockets. So even when you apply paint, they still fit. It's a nice little engineering touch there. Very nice. Love to see that. All right. So, we've got our dry brushed crux. Ah! Mistake. I've made a terrible mistake. Yeah, so the guns, they don't look quite as like edge highlighted. Maybe it's because my brush was too dry. And so I'm not getting the edge highlight look, and it's just looking more silver. What can be done? Okay. So let's assemble like a version. So yeah, I mean that looks pretty sweet. Kind of a black metallic. All right. So for detailing, I'm gonna grab a small brush like this. Ooh, come on, autofocus. Small brush like that. detailing small brush, and we're gonna start with a turquoise blue. It looks a touch more green in real life compared to how it's showing up on the monitor. But we're just gonna put a little dot there. Now these Liquitech Basics, they're much thicker than normal modeling paint. Like, these are designed for painting on a canvas. So I normally end up thinning them down quite a bit with water, like this on my wet palette, to create a workable mixture. And then from there, try not to have too much on the brush. But from there, I'll just pick out any details that I'm enjoying and just go ahead and add some blue. So I love greebling like this. I think this is a really nice touch on these mechs, is these sort of, you know, it's a mini, so it doesn't actually need to have functioning gears and stuff. But these support poles and you know, pivot points and rivets, they really help add a lot of life. So definitely a fan of greebling. And then, yeah, just, you know, anything that I kind of want to have a little bit of this. This isn't going to be the brightest. This is kind of my darkest blue, but you know, it helps highlight some of the cool pieces. So I'll do the sort of rivet and that support piece all around, and then we'll think of other stuff we want to have other shades of blue be. And then I'm thinking for these, a fun accent color could be green. I think a lot of components are green. And so that way, if you end up drawing a green component, you can still, it'll still go really well with the miniature. You know, if I had like red be an accent and then there was like a bright green component, that might clash a little bit. All right. It's painting minis. So you can see starting to highlight. Now when acrylic paint is wet, the water gives it much more opacity, and it makes it reflect significantly more because the light likes to reflect off the water. So after I do one pass here and it dries, it will probably look significantly less thick, and I'll probably have to go through and do a second pass. But usually acrylic paints that are thin enough to work with on this scale are not going to be thick enough to have opacity after one layer. So it's just part of the process. And the piece I'm painting is hidden from the camera. Sorry. But you can trust that I'm painting it extremely well, like an expert. And I'm doing a great job, and everyone's really proud of me, and you can just trust that. You don't actually have to see me painting it. You can just absolutely trust. Blue Echo stock is worth $6 trillion a share, and everyone's winning, and everyone wins every time they play. Oof. And I definitely didn't just put a bunch of blue paint where I wish there was black. Nope, you're hallucinating that. Okay. Let's go over to pass 2. And it's totally fine if a little paint gets where it's not supposed to be. When you're painting when you're painting something elevated, it's easy for the brush to get the things that are lower. Painting up high, the brush tends to get things that are low. Then when you go through and do the detailed low, your brush is less likely to get the high stuff. So if I'm painting here, my brush is more likely to also get the stuff below it, but then when I do the stuff below, the mini itself sort of forms a more natural boundary. So I tend to do kind of base coat, then detail, and then touch up any mistakes. That seems to be the most consistent. All right, still going. Yeah, just painting minis on Wednesday afternoon. So we're gonna Blue Echo is gonna do everything in our power to offer a snappy, recorded, edited video every other Wednesday, and then the Wednesdays that we don't upload, we'll do a live stream. That just allows for a bit more time to make each video rather than needing to be on a weekly production schedule. And I also really like the idea of just having Blue Echo office hours. I mean, now, you know, in the first couple months of building the community, there's the live streams are going to be very small, but I like the idea that a couple times a month people will be able to chat and ask me any questions about Shattered Moon, talk about painting, 3D printing, all sorts of fun stuff that we do and support here. And of course, people can always reach out and yap in Discord, but sort of having my attention as the lead designer of Shattered Moon once a couple times a month is nice. You ask rules questions, or we can discuss your experience with Public Alpha 1. I can talk about what I want to do for Public Alpha 2, or if we want to discuss, anything. So, Blue Echo office hours. All right, so fun little bit of detail here. Still a little bit messy. I'm gonna have to go through and touch up with some gunmetal, but already kind of getting a cool sci-fi look, really high contrast with the bright blue and the gunmetal effect. So if we pop this on, I'm gonna think about places where I wanna put this blue tone elsewhere. Obviously these recessed rivets are very cool. This is a cool design. It's like, okay, we need to have an exposed nuts to be able to repair the crux, etc. But you don't want them sticking out, so they're in these little housings. It also just gives this armor plate a sense of weight. Because rather than it looking like it's a, you know, just the thin outer shell, because it pops out and it's got the rivets all the way down, you're like, oh, that's like a full thick armor shell. That is very, very cool. Shout out to Travis for these sick designs. Looks like maybe the resin got a little warped there. I am not a resin printer. Here at Blue Echo, we are all about FDM. I love using my recycled bioplastic. Dots. Black. Blue dots. Black. Blue dots. Huge. Absolutely massive. All right, let's see if I can, I'm gonna try to maybe overbrush a little bit, just kind of like dry brushing, but with wet paint. So not a lot of paint, and just very lightly going back and forth. And you're trying to only deposit the paint kind of on this inner edge and the rim. Try to create some visual interest. Starting to get somewhere, starting to see some fun stuff. All right. Just anywhere that's sticking up that I think would look cool in this base blue, I'm just gonna hit with some blue. Just vibing to the ambient music, enjoying painting minis. I'm just smearing the same layer over and over again. Now, if the edge is elevated, you can use your brush flat like this to isolate that elevated portion, and that can help, because if you go this way, it's likely to hit everywhere else. So even though normally you think pointed brush is more stable, if you're working on an elevated piece and you use a flat brush, you use the flat brush, your brush can't really hit the part you don't want to hit. Cool. All right. And I think this is a great place. This is a great place for some blue. This is another great place for some blue. Maybe... Can I get some blue in there? Wow, those are hollow. We really are in the future. Look at that detail. Just trying to get the... Trying to get the rims blue. Maybe a little bit of overspill just to kind of create. Ooh, this is fun. It's cool. All right. I'm gonna add some more blue here to my cruxes. These are pretty easy. You just kind of push in straight, let some paint come off, and dab again. If I moved around and swirled around, I'd get a lot more on the edges, since I really want to isolate the piece. A little bit of blue where it shouldn't be. Unacceptable. All right. Now I do think for a more dramatic effect, I'm actually going to go with my flat brush technique here, and I'm actually going to make that inner grill a totally different color. And then, because there's these really nice sharp edges, using the side of my brush to capture the edge highlight, just so satisfying. When it's a nice sharp 90-degree edge like this, it's very tempting to add some edge highlighting. That looks pretty sweet. I don't know if I'm going to edge highlight the whole thing, but I kind of like the idea of edge highlighting the armor plating. We'll see. We're just having a good time. I'm going to try to stream till 7 every other Wednesday, basically from when I get back from the thing that shall not be named, my job. Boo. Okay. Where else do I want to add blue? Let's add blue here. It's a nice little panel line. Nice. Love all the little bits of detail. Whew. I know it's hard to, oh, sorry, touched my mic. It's hard to, when I'm concentrating, I am not very good at explaining what I'm doing, but you can just vibe out, listen to the music, enjoy this Wednesday evening. You can see there's a huge difference between the first and second coat. Yeah, boo to day jobs. TCAT knows what's up. Absolutely. Yes. May they fade away as we achieve creative success. 100% yes, TCAT. Absolutely. And I really do, spoilers for my upcoming YouTube video, but I really think Libertas has what it takes to find that creative success for you. It's just a matter of time, I think. I think you've got all the tools, and I'm really vibing with where the product is at. I'm very excited for the developments. All right, so let's take a look at where we're at with the different colors. So we've got, so far, it's just black primer out of a dry brush, black primer out of a airbrush, silver dry brushing, and just some spot detail of blue. I mean, that's all we've done so far. Very simple, but the mech's already starting to come to life and be very exciting. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add some complementary color, which is going to be, I think like a dark green would be pretty cool. I've got a bunch of paints around. What is it about paints where it's impossible for anyone with paints to be organized? TCAT, well, I'm glad you like the words of encouragement. It is not easy to build a game and minis and cards and all of that. Having recently launched Blue Echo and done public alpha 1 on Shattered Moon, I mean, it's a grind. Seeing how much you've done is very inspiring, and I genuinely think the game is cool, and I like these minis. And for all of you who are thinking this is sponsored content, no, I'm just a glazed donut here. I just genuinely think it's sick. The hardest part is the marketing, you know, the creative element. I think you've kind of knocked out of the park. It's just takes time to build a community and to build product awareness and to build demand. And it's certainly, having an amazing product is not a necessary or sufficient condition. You could have the coolest game ever and people aren't interested, or have the worst game ever and people can't stop buying it. But just continuing to try to grow that community. I mean, you know, it's at least to a trickle. Your pipeline works because you've converted one person, me, so you know that there's a non-zero success rate. So if you just keep doing what you're doing, I think you'll start to feel that exponential growth pretty soon. Or there's also a chance that this comes to your door and just destroys everything you've ever worked on. Goes straight for the STLs. Boom! And you're like, no, 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 don't twin laser me. Pew, 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 pew. There's also a 50% chance that your toys come to life and tear you down. But that's what we get for building AI in these robots. Just kidding. There's no AI. This is not generative AI, I really hope. All right, green. What do I want to do with the green? I want to put green in silly places. Let's put green. This feels a little too bright. You know what? Let's try it. Oh man. It's like neon green. Maybe some green here in the legs. I don't want it to be so neon. All right, I gotta find a darker green. Where are my Liquitex? Where are all my colors? Oh, the mic's probably picking up all sorts of paint stuff moving around. Okay, I've found Hooker's green hue permanent. Deep green permanent. I don't think bright aqua green is the play. Hookers. All right, let's try Hooker's green hue permanent. Because it's like if I did that opaque, it'd be very, very bright. And I don't think I can really make it look even and thin. All right. That's a very, very, very bright green. We're going to try this not as bright green. See if that can make a cool, just add a little bit of interest. And then maybe the components that are bright green, they can add that green highlight if they ever get equipped. But this will just be like a little hint of a different color, just so it's not only blue and black. When I'm going for a bigger surface like this, you can see it's very hard to get even coverage with any individual layer. I don't know if my paint's too thick. Maybe my paint's way too thick. Welcome to Paint Thinning with Blue Echo Games. Today, we're gonna paint the wrong thickness on our mechs. What have I done? Ugh. Well, there's an example of how not to paint a panel. Okay, it's like a speed paint. That's too thin. We're gonna have to just do multiple layers, let each one sort of settle into these grooves, and then build up the opacity, and then I think it'll look pretty decent. You can see here, once it dries, it liked going to the edges. So what we'll do is we'll just continue to build up the opacity until it's where we want it. Okay. Let those dry. Add some. Oh, it's kind of a bit like a wash, getting it into with the very thin green, getting it into the recesses here. I wonder if that actually looks any good. Well, worst case scenario, we can always just go to playlibertas.com and buy more mech pieces. So I'm hoping to get the darker green in the recesses, and then I'll be able to do like a lighter green over the top. Maybe try to make it look try to make it look cool. Ooh. Is that? Oh, that's the face. That's the defender's eyes? Maybe we do the bright green for the eyes. All right. Wish me luck, chat. Just glarping paint in there. Expert mini painting. Just glarping it in. Oh. Amateur miniature painter exposed on 4K. Pew, 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 pew. Pew, pew. Boom, boom. Pew, 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 pew. Boom. Pew, 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 pew. If anyone needs sound effects for their upcoming game, I can definitely do Foley for you. That's my resume right there. That's my reel. That looks like a nice place to put things. All right, I'm gonna let that dry and then come back and do some more passes here. Oh, well, maybe it hasn't quite dried yet. Oh, I'm just taking paint with me. This paint's not dry yet. I am not helping the situation. All right. Take a break from... Okay, so we've got our base blue. We've got some sort of green accent color. Let's see. It's kind of a purplish blue, a violet. I don't know, what if we did a really light blue? What about this? One of my favorites, sky blue. Okay. I trust you. Let's give it a try. All right, I'm gonna take a longer brush. I'm gonna try to go over some panels. Use the brush's length. To isolate these raised portions. Now, I always like to go perpendicular to the raised portion, because going that way doesn't really work. Okay. TCAT Games coming strong with the huge minis. Big minis. Okay. Okay, that's a lot of paint. That's a fun highlight. Where else can we do something cool like that? Basically anywhere that's elevated. Ooh. God. I love bevels. This is good beveling. Huge fan. Huge fan of bevels. Okay. a absolute bevel maniac. Neon cards, beveled mechs, instant purchase, bro. Where's the box set? Give me all this. Give me all the bevels. Sheesh. Okay. You know what does need, I think the tips of the guns need red. But I'll do that in a second once I'm done. Once I'm done having fun bevel shading. Whoo. All right. These bevels are really fun to paint. It's like they're thin enough that you can just kind of go at it like an edge highlight, but thick enough that it's really visible. So I will probably write in the Discord that I love these bevels. So shout out to the Libertas Discord, where I'm gonna glaze these bevels. Well, that's kind of cool. That's pretty fun. Very fun. Very satisfying bevels to paint. Oh. TK, I mean, that's a great point. You know, designing minis is like, do you jam pack it with details so the sculpt looks good on my mini factory? But painting every piece is a huge chore. Yeah, these have a good balance. I mean, again, I personally am a huge fan of greebling, so I like all the little extra bits. I find that if I don't want to paint all the bits of a section independently, I can just kind of dry brush. I've never felt like there's too much detail on a mini. That's just personal preference. Those bevels are like the perfect width. So I don't know. Let's do a quick vibe check. See how it looks. Okay. I believe paint adds a little bit of friction. All right. So yeah, this is where we're at right now. Rough draft, but I think there's a lot of character already, and I think this is pretty sweet. I'm liking my progress so far. Yeah, up close in 4K, there's definitely some touch-up needed, but so far, so good. All right, well, now that the panels are layer 1 dry, we can try to add another layer. What do you use to do your 3D modeling? Do you use like AutoCAD or do you use Blender? So I'm a Blender goober. I've been enjoying Blender a lot. I like that it's free. Free is fun and good. Okay, so yeah, this sky blue almost looks a tiny bit purple for some reason. It's like just a touch violet, and this green feels like it's a touch blue. I'm wondering if I want to mix in a little bit of the lime stuff, just so it's not, doesn't have like a blue hue. Maybe I'll have to do that in the next pass. Because the slightly more lime green seems nice if it weren't so dark. Or if it weren't so bright. So maybe I'll try mixing this lighter green in and creating like a bit of a wash. Just kind of go in here and hang out, add a little bit of accent. I'm gonna add some more paint to the eyes. Use, okay, so you use on shape, and then you use blender for applying for effects. I really want to learn plasticity. Is plasticity like when you like warp the mesh itself as opposed to working with rigid shapes, like when you like start twisting and stuff? All right, so for the very tips of the weapons, I think we have to go bright red. I know it kind of clashes with the green, but it's just the very tips of the weapons. And that's how we know it's dangerous. It's because it's red. It's like, oh, it's a big red. That's a gun. That's the danger. So we got to do it. So you know it's a big boom boom. How else are they going to know it does 18 damage? How else are they going to know that on a critical hit, if target does not have shields, you destroy target attachment? It's because it's painted red. If it weren't painted red, they wouldn't know. How would they know? Oh, plasticity like capital P, as in like that's a proper noun? That's a software? See? Oh, right. Camera. Whoa. See, now red tip. You know it's dangerous. I don't know why the red tip equals danger. All right. What do I want to do? I don't know. What do I want to do? Sometimes I feel like less is more, but sometimes maybe more is more. You know, what if I took a little bit of white and I made a... Yeah, it's all good. I mean, it's is it 5 West Coast? I don't know if you're still at the thing that shall not be named, the dreaded day job. Still busting rocks. All right. So I'm going to mix some white with my turquoise and create like a lighter, less saturated highlight. And then I'm gonna see if I can add some of this to the mini without completely ruining it. Wish me luck. Yeah, I guess it's dark here in Chicago. So I don't know if, I guess you probably still have a little bit of daylight. Gotta make that bank. It's all good. Pretty soon you'll have like $1 million in sales, and it'll all just be a memory of that time before you had a super successful indie game. We'll all laugh about, remember when we used to be anxious about whether or not it would find success. I'll be like, can't believe I ever had any doubt or anxiety about the absolute cultural monstrosity I was about to create. That's the situation we'll be in soon. I keep adding more to these vents and I'm just making it worse. I'm just making it worse. What am I doing? Why am I adding white? What am I doing? Just add more paint, that'll fix it. Well, I guess it kind of looks green and glowy. I don't know. Kind of the little desaturate. I mean, it looks pretty messy in there, but I actually kind of like the desaturated light green more than the saturated green. Maybe if I just clean it up a little bit. Oh, that's right in the corner. Let me see if I can create a desaturated highlighted version here. Am I just making it messier? It does kind of look like it's glowing. It doesn't look like just a bunch of random paint. Oh. Why are you focusing on this? Focus on this. Come on. Come on, Sony. I believe in you. Well, maybe if I clean up the edge a little bit, it'll look a little bit better. Where's my edge cleaning? My proprietary edge cleaning software. Here's my proprietary edge cleaning tech. You can buy them for $500,000 on the Blue Echo Games web store. And that's $500K per edge cleaning sheet. I just oopsied. I oopsied my way into partial success. Well, we'll see. I don't know. If I just... I think the glowing effect briefly existed and then I ruined it. Now it just looks like it's a sloppy eater and it's got green stuff in its mouth. It's fine. So yeah, actually, I think if I take this tiny dry brush, just with a tiny bit of white, so when our eyes start to see a massive amount of light, the color sensors for the other colors also start to go. So that's like as something gets brighter, it can often desaturate. So I wonder if a little bit of like darker green in the recess and then white on top. See, I think that's starting to get the glow effect to come back a little bit because it's dark in the recesses and then glowy on top. I probably need to let it dry more. So I need to learn to be patient and let layers dry. Well, I think this is pretty fun. It definitely needs a bunch of touch up. There's some slop, but Mech's really fun to paint, so that's good. If that's on your checklist, you can check that off tonight. Be like, sick mech, fun to paint. Check. All right. I think I just need to... So, this is Mars Black. I learned this the hard way. Ivory Black is much less opaque, even though they have the same... So they're both going to have the same opacity rating, because as far as this opacity rating is, they're both in the top level. But Mars Black, way more opaque than Ivory Black. Ivory Black is good if you want to mix stuff to darken it or desaturate it. Mars Black is really good if you want to have opacity. So I am going to just use a tiny bit of Mars Black and try to touch up some of this really icky stuff. Hopefully it'll look a lot cleaner. We'll get some of the nice effect back. Okay. Well, that definitely really helped. Just instead of my eye being so distracted by the mess, starting to see a little bit more of the intended effect. All right. Let's see if I can oopsies my way into a cool effect on this back grill. Back grill. I don't need to do too much, just a little bit of white. There we go. We're starting to get some of the glow back a little bit. Have a little bit of a, just a little bit of a interesting effect there. And then I think I might need to just jam a little extra paint in here. Get more coverage. And then I'll have to redo the black. All right. So we got a little bit of interest, different panel areas. Oh, I guess you're right. Is it an oopsie if I meant to do it? I guess now that I'm a glow expert certified, it's no longer an oopsies. This was 100% on purpose. All skill, no luck. I'm not sure how many of your miniatures you've seen painted by a third party before, but how does it feel to see one of your designs painted on stream? This is the progress so far. Boom, 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 boom. Well, I've still got a little bit of time left, so let me see if there's anywhere else I want to touch up, add a second layer, etc. I'm still amazed that these are actual hollow barrels. That's crazy, the level of detail of those. Oh, you're stoked over the paint job? Thank you. It must feel pretty cool to have someone buy your minis and paint them. It's like the thing, the dream, the thing is happening. and to have a world-renowned, award-winning amateur beginner painter to be the one to do it, you know. Put this in a museum, baby. All right, I am going to see if I can add a little bit more even coverage here on each of these panels. I'm glad you think it is great, TCAT. I appreciate it. And hearing that this is seeing me smear paint on your creation is helpful, then it's good to know. I would say these legs, I don't know if you intended, these legs dry brushed with the silver about as top tier as possible. There's something about the very crisp edges, good angles, but I felt like it was getting the dry brushing was very, very satisfying. I'm sure that was 100% intentional, and you succeeded. I'm glad you're honored that that's such an amazing and prestigious amateur beginning artist has chosen your miniatures as their canvas. That was definitely fun to paint. That is, put that in the success column. I definitely, you know, like this is a deep enough recess that my paintbrush, even though I have terrible brush control and I'm talking, you know, it's a deep enough bevel that like the dry brush is able to pick up the edge, and then also it's deep enough that my brush is able to find that edge and not leave it when I'm painting the depressed portion. So I mean, all of that is good, you know, when you're thinking about how thick to make different pieces. All of that was very good on this one. I believe I gotta learn the names. This is the X series platform, +2 stability, ubiquitous among those who utilize heavy components. Oh, we got lore text? Guys, it's so over, chat. Look at that. We have flavor text on the cards. I'm losing my mind. Favored by pilots who thrive on the high-risk dance of close quarters combat. That's me. I'm the crusader. I think. Maybe deep down I'm a fortress. Based on all the cookies I've been eating lately, this I am the fortress. That is me. Oh, I really hope I didn't get paint on your beautiful cards. No, we're good. Paint free. All right. Well, this is what I've achieved. If I'm being honest, I might use this as the thumbnail, as part of the thumbnail for next week's video. Have like your assembly hologram and then like draw an arrow to this. And it's like, oh my God, real life. but the video's not about painting it, so maybe that would be false advertising. I don't know. See, I feel like the back, maybe I've got a couple minutes before I gotta log off. Maybe I'll do a little, maybe do something on the back here. Okay. I usually like to take a break for a couple days and then look at the mini again. There's something about when I go from black to having stuff, my brain is just like, ooh, color! And it's hard for me to look at it clearly. Same for when I sculpt minis. I'm like, oh my gosh, the mini exists now. And then, like after a week, I'll come back to the sculpture and be like, oh, there's a bunch of parts I can greeble. Love greebling. I love greebling. Okay, that breaks up. You know, also, I remember, I believe I can equip a shield piece too. You can see that really completes the vibe, having that back piece. Or this absolutely sick drone. Is the drone legal on the Fortress? Because the drone mini is cool as hell. Look at that, so sick. But I believe that will be more like the green because that's the color in the card. Sheesh. Very sick. Yeah, see, if there's something on the back, then it looks very, very dope. But you know, okay, just a crazy thought. What if we make this a little bit more vibrant for all the times when we don't draw our drone or our shield generator, right? We're not guaranteed to have a full loadout all the time. So maybe we add a little bit of interest there for, yeah. I'm a sucker for that turquoise. See, now when we look at the back, it's also interesting. All right. Well, I think that's about all I've got in me today. It's 7:30 here in Chicago, and I've been up since about 4:30 because of the thing that shall not be named. But it's okay. One day we'll be full-time Blue Echo Games. We'll be making it happen. thank you everyone who tuned in. Thank you everyone who's watching the VOD. Travis, TCAT Games, thank you so much for coming and gaming. Thank you for bestowing the community another sweet piece of miniature wargaming. It's always fun to have new miniature war games for people to play. And I'm really excited to see how Libertas continues to develop and continues to grow. And I'm excited to play with my new toys. And I will probably do some more painting streams. Next week, we're gonna have a edited video on Libertas and how to build a successful business. Not like I'm telling TCAT Games how to build a successful business, but just like general business theory. And I look at the minis. So that'll be next week. And then the week after that, do another stream, and we'll try to do uploads every 2 weeks and then streams on the alternating weeks. So there will be new Blue Echo Games content on YouTube every Wednesday. These streams are basically office hours. Come chat, ask questions, tell me that I'm amazing and my miniatures are beautiful and my game design is perfect and it's super balanced. Definitely do that. Subscribe to the channel. At 100 subscribers, I'm gonna drop a free infantry conversion pack here. So it's gonna have weapons, bases, basing bits, accessories, like anything you would wanna print and then be able to put on miniatures, like 1/35th scale, historical models, etc. And then that is good for just fun conversions and also getting things ready for Shattered Moon. So at 100 subscribers, we are gonna drop free stuff. And then if people comment lore please in the comments on any video, whenever I hit a new milestone there, I'll drop new lore. Currently, there's a unit called Firestorm, which are part of a special Drasso Starcloud strike group. And they have a upcoming chapter called Counterattack, and I will not say anything more. If you want to hear more about Firestorm and their story and what Chapter 1 Counterattack might mean, comment lore please in comments in any video. And then our Discord is free, and I'm always there if you want to chat. Link and stuff is all over the channel here. And playlibertas.com if you want to check out what Libertas is up to, and blueechogames.com if you want to check out what we are up to. I believe both of these games have free rules online. My rules are free, and I believe TCAT Games has free rules on Play Libertas as well. And this is the Defender signing off with the Titan Fist, saying thank you for joining, and we will see you next week. Woo! Goodbye, everyone. Have a wonderful night and a wonderful week.